Bias in I, addressing fairness and diversity. Bias in I, addressing fairness and diversity. Artificial intelligence, AI, has rapidly become an integral part of our daily lives, influencing everything from the way we shop to how we interact with healthcare systems. While AI promises to bring about numerous benefits and advancements, it also presents a significant challenge: bias. Bias in AI systems can perpetuate existing inequalities, reinforce stereotypes, and create real-world consequences that affect individuals and communities. Addressing fairness and diversity in AI is not just an ethical imperative, but also a crucial step in building reliable and trustworthy AI systems that truly serve everyone. The nature of bias in AI. Bias in AI refers to the presence of systematic and unfair discrimination in the decisions and predictions made by AI algorithms. This bias can stem from various sources, including biased training data, biased algorithm design, or biased human interactions that shape the AI's learning process. One common source of bias is the training data itself. If historical data used to train AI models contains biases, the model is likely to learn and perpetuate those biases. Bias can also emerge from algorithmic design. Complex AI models often work as black boxes, making it difficult to trace the exact steps that lead to a particular decision. This lack of transparency can mask biases present in the algorithm's decision-making process, making it challenging to identify and address them. The consequences of bias. The consequences of biased AI systems can be far-reaching and damaging. One of the most prominent issues is the reinforcement of societal inequalities. If AI systems favor certain groups over others, they can perpetuate existing disparities in areas such as employment, lending, and criminal justice. This not only undermines the principles of fairness and equality but also amplifies systemic discrimination. In the healthcare domain, biased AI algorithms can lead to misdiagnoses and inappropriate treatment recommendations. If an algorithm has been primarily trained on data from a specific demographic group, it might not perform well for underrepresented groups, leading to unequal access to quality healthcare. Moreover, biased AI can contribute to the reinforcement of stereotypes. If an AI system consistently associates certain traits or behaviors with particular groups, it can further embed these stereotypes in society. This not only affects how individuals are perceived but also influences the opportunities and experiences available to them. The road to fairness and diversity. Addressing bias in AI is a complex and multifaceted endeavor that requires a combination of technical, ethical, and regulatory measures. Here are some key steps in the journey toward creating fair and diverse AI systems. Number 1. Diverse and representative data collection. To mitigate bias, it's crucial to start with diverse and representative training data. This involves collecting data that accurately reflects the diversity of the real world. AI developers must actively seek out data from underrepresented groups and avoid overrepresenting certain demographics. Number 2. Data pre-processing and cleaning. Before using data to train AI models, it's important to pre-process and clean the data to reduce bias. This might involve removing irrelevant or discriminatory features, rebalancing the data, and carefully handling missing data. Hash number 3, algorithmic fairness. Developers need to incorporate fairness into the design of AI algorithms. This involves considering different fairness metrics and techniques during algorithm development to ensure that the model's predictions do not disproportionately favor any particular group. Hash number 4, Interpretable AI. Creating AI models that are interpretable can help in identifying and understanding sources of bias. When developers and users can trace how an AI system arrives at a decision, it becomes easier to detect and address instances of bias. Hash number 5, Ongoing monitoring and auditing. AI systems should be continuously monitored for bias, even after deployment. Regular audits can help identify bias that might emerge over time due to changes in data distribution or other factors. Hash number 6, Ethical guidelines and regulations. Governments and organizations should establish clear ethical guidelines and regulations for AI development and deployment. These guidelines can set standards for transparency, fairness, and accountability in AI systems. Hash number 7, Diverse and inclusive development teams. Creating AI that is fair and unbiased requires input from diverse perspectives. Including individuals from various backgrounds and experiences in AI development teams can help identify and address biases that might not be apparent to a homogeneous group. Hash number 8, Education and awareness. Raising awareness about bias in AI among developers, users, and the general public is essential. By understanding the potential pitfalls of biased AI, people can make informed decisions about its use and demand greater accountability. Hash the way forward. Addressing bias in AI is an ongoing journey that requires collaboration across various sectors of society. It's important to acknowledge that achieving complete elimination of bias might be challenging, but the goal should be to minimize its impact as much as possible. Developers, researchers, policymakers, and users all play a role in creating a future where AI systems are fair, diverse, and beneficial for everyone. As AI continues to shape our world, let's work together to ensure that it upholds the values of equality, fairness, and inclusivity. By doing so, we can unlock the true potential of AI to enhance our lives without perpetuating harmful biases. Hash overcoming challenges. While the steps outlined above provide a framework for addressing bias in AI, there are still significant challenges that need to be overcome.